all heard people were looking for that 6th spot play against the Sacramento Kings at the 3 spot.
So, Richard, does this trade put the Kings in any sort of playoff contention in the West?
No, God, no.
For the very first time on ABC, let's light the beam.
So, just believe me when I say this, you guys. While I absolutely know that we're not in any position to overreact to the small sample size that we currently have from the 2023 NBA playoffs, there's still some things that we now know and that we need to talk about. And first is that Kings-Warriors could very well end up being the best first-round series that we've seen in a very, very long time, at least if what we've seen so far is a preview. And second, while yes, I know they still have a lot of work to do in front of them, the Kings have already solidified their capabilities on the national stage. And that's honestly something that many people did not expect to see from them. But out of everything we've seen from them in their very, very short postseason run so far, well, they're doing things that we really haven't seen from them yet this year, and if they keep it up, it could cause some issues. But also, if you guys love playoff basketball as much as I do, don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications to never miss another video down the stretch of the postseason. Okay, so to get back on topic with the Sacramento Kings, this is a team that very early on in the course of the 2023 season established themselves as one of the best and most potent offenses the game of basketball has ever seen. And no, that's not a joke or an exaggeration, like they literally had the best offensive rating of all time this season. But nonetheless, even with them asserting their dominance on this side of the ball all year, nobody was going to believe it would still be this successful in the postseason until we actually got to see it firsthand. And well, yeah, in terms of their output, I'd say they're pretty much right on pace with everything they've been doing since opening night. But yes, even though the numbers that we're seeing are very similar, there is something very different that we're seeing within the play of Sacramento. And no, it is not the absolute dominance we've been seeing on full display from DeAaron Fox, because that's been going on for months on end at this point if you haven't caught on. It's not even the bench support that we've been seeing, which has been led by the ridiculous play of Malik Monk so far as well. But believe it or not, it actually has to do with the man that many would consider is underperforming the most in this postseason so far, and that's Domantas Sabonis. Now, to give everyone a brief rundown of the unstoppable Kings offense we've seen throughout the entire year, let's try to keep it short and sweet. First off with DeAaron Fox, yes, clearly he is the heart and soul of this offense, and well, if what we saw him do in his first ever postseason game didn't make that clear enough to you, I don't know what will. But with Fox's ridiculous ISO scoring frequency, along with the ability of him to take advantage of almost any defender that he gets matched up with, there's so many other things that he does bring to the table for these guys, but this is ultimately where his impact's felt most. But as we mentioned, while DeAaron Fox is the heart and soul, Domantas Sabonis on the other hand is more so the heartbeat of the offense, if you will, or vice versa, whatever you would prefer. And some of you might be wondering what I mean by this. Well, not only did he contribute the second most points per game for this roster throughout the entire year, but he also serves as the volume playmaker for this team at the 5 spot in the rotation. And with the two-way offensive juggernaut that he's become, they've used him in a way that's been almost impossible for opposing teams to stop throughout the entire year. Well, that is until we just saw what Golden State's trying to throw at them. Because whether you want to say maybe Sabonis is just having a rough start to the postseason, or if you do want to give credit to the defensive efforts of the Golden State Warriors, it is crystal clear that his overall production, along with even just how the Kings are using him, is very different than what we're used to. And in terms of his scoring presence, this is never really going to change, as most of his opportunities either come from pick and roll situations, second chance opportunities, or even the occasional moment where he takes an inferior defender off the dribble. And with his typical high efficiency in all of these areas, it's clearly why he's one of the best scoring bigs in the league. But on the other side of the equation, in terms of Sabonis' playmaking, this is where the Golden State Warriors are doing everything they can to keep the ball out of his hands. Because when you're talking about Domantas Sabonis as a passer, I mean, I'll just say it, he probably put up the least flashy 7 assists per game that you will ever see. see. And I say this because instead of relying on his court vision to facilitate, the Kings rely on Domantas Sabonis' body and size to facilitate. And I know that might sound weird, but believe me, it's 100% true. And ultimately, it's seen through the very simple use of the dribble handoff that Mike Brown has implemented to elevate this offense. And while Sacramento has tried to utilize this in literally every game this season, it's not much of a surprise that we tried to see them do the same in the postseason so far as well. Because not only does it work in the simple sense of clearing the lane for constant drives to the basket, and again, to mention Domas' size, utilizing this most as a screener, but it also really forces this Kings offense to never become stagnant in terms of their movement. And that even further plays into finding efficient looks for the plethora of outside shooting on this team. And the entire formula of Mike Brown's offense has pretty much directly led into how this team has went from borderline one of the worst offenses in modern day basketball to one of the best in the span of just one offseason. But with the early front court defensive tactics that we've seen from Golden State in this series, it's pretty much thrown a wrench into the typical Sacramento offensive scheme, and Domantas Sabonis' numbers would definitely tell you this. Now, the funny thing is, with saying that Golden State has successfully thrown off Sacramento's game plan, is that they're really still thriving despite this. So, I mean, the question still obviously remains, what's changed? Now, when you actually sit down and look at the Sacramento Kings roster outside of the top two guys in DeAaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, the high level of versatility that they have in their role players really allow for this offense to have a counter to pretty much any defensive tactic that's been thrown at them all season. And well, the counters that we've seen against Golden State are literally a prime example of that. To start, let's take pace of play into consideration, because while the stats will show you that Sacramento was more so a middle of the pack team in terms of pace of play when compared to the rest of the league this season, with them not being able to run their dribble handoff offense as frequently through Domantas Sabonis, they've played at borderline the highest pace we've seen from them this entire year. And not only did this result in more fast break opportunities for them, along with a more fast-paced and free-flowing offense, but it drastically increased the ISO looks for Sacramento as well. I mean, we've already seen this constantly. Instead of having the offense run through Domantas Sabonis with the ball in his hands, we've seen him act much more in pick-and-roll situations or just as a straight-up screener that has allowed whoever is handling the ball to get much more wide-open looks from really anywhere on the court, just having to worry about Sabonis' presence. So at least when you're looking at the stat sheet, while it might seem that Sabonis' impact is far lower than what we were seeing in the regular season, you might just want to think again, because trust me, even when he's not scoring or facilitating, he still has a big impact on this team's success. I mean, if anything, it's a positive sign how well the Kings are doing, even without him contributing where he usually does. But I also definitely know that some people out there are probably saying that the Kings have got lucky with the success they've seen in the series so far. Because, I mean, are we actually going to be expecting both DeAaron Fox and Malik Monk to drop 70 for these guys in every game of this series going forward? Obviously, no. But on the other side of things, do we also expect Domantas Sabonis to do as little as he has so far? Obviously, no. I don't know, you guys. Personally, I would love to hear what you guys have to think about the Sacramento Kings and their current situation in the comments below. But what I do know is that this series could end up being one for the ages, no matter which side of it you're rooting for. But anyway, you guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much to each and every one of you out there for watching. I appreciate you all more than anything. You all know this, and I will see you guys in the next video.